It's that time of the year again. There's a brand new GoPro. This is the brand new GoPro Hero 13 Black. This little camera gets an improved design with better thermal performance, reduced overheating, a new magnetic mount, burst slow motion features, and much more. But the most exciting thing about the GoPro Hero 13 Black isn't actually the camera itself, it's what's inside this box, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I've been using the new Hero 13 Black for a little over a week now, so I haven't had a whole bunch of time with it. However, I have taken this camera out on a whole bunch of different runs, from road runs to trail running. I've taken a couple of bike rides with it, and I took it to the beach with my kids to do some shooting with them, and it's been a lot of fun. So in this video, we'll be walking through all of the new features and specs, all of the new accessories that are in this box. I'll keep that a secret for now. And of course, along the way, I will be sharing a ton of sample footage from the Hero 13 Black, so you can get an idea of what it looks like as compared to some of the previous models like the Hero 12 Black. First, let's talk about the pricing on this camera. The core pricing for the camera only comes in at $399 here in the USA, which is pretty much standard pricing for all of the previous models. With pricing out of the way though, it's time to talk about the hardware on the Hero 13 Black. Because even though it looks pretty much the same as all of the other models from a distance, there have been some improvements on the Hero 13 that are worth talking about. I'm not gonna open this box just yet, we'll keep that a secret for now. Here is the Hero 13 Black, and if we compare it to the Hero 12 Black, which is last generation, you can see there's been some differences. First of all, long are the days of that blue splattered look of the Hero 12 Black. That's gone away, and they've just gone to an all black design. The Hero 13 Black, just like the 12 Black, has the same front display, as you can see there. If I turn both these cameras on, you can see I'm getting an overheating warning on the 12 Black because I was just doing some testing. More on that in a minute, but more importantly, we've got that same front display, and I flip them over, you can see that they have the same back display as well. Now, if you take a closer look at the front of these two cameras, the Hero 12 on the left, Hero 13 on the right, you'll notice another significant change to the front of the camera. This little grill kind of thing underneath the lens. And what that is actually a heat sink to improve the thermal performance of the Hero 13 Black. If we flip the cameras over on this side, you'll notice there are no changes on this side. You've got the same mode and power selector there. Speaking of things that are the same between the Hero 12 and the Hero 13, there's a lot of similarities. First of all, the imaging sensor inside the camera is the same exact sensor from the 12 to the Black. There's been no improvements there. Unfortunately, that does mean that the GoPro Hero 12 and 13 aren't that great in the dark. Like if you're in a really dimly lit situation, both of these cameras do struggle a little bit as compared to the competition, but in well-lit areas, the 5.3K on both these cameras is really awesome. It's high resolution. It looks like some of the best on the market when it comes to action cameras. Hey there, quick interruption. If you're finding this video helpful or valuable in any way, I would really appreciate it if you went down and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below, because it turns out like 80% of you are not subscribed, so go do that now. And while you're down there, check out the links in the description down below where you can pick up your Hero 13 Black. Those links do help support this channel, but they cost nothing extra to you, so you might as well use them. Okay, back to the video. Let's get down to brass tacks and talk about some of the major differences between the Hero 12 Black and the 13 Black. And the first thing is going to be the battery. GoPro has changed the battery inside this camera. So on the right side of the screen, you can see the new GoPro battery with the blue logo. And on the left side is the previous generation battery. Now, even though they're basically, they're nearly identical in size, the new GoPro battery has 10% more capacity. This new Hero 13 battery has a capacity of 1900 milliamp hours compared to the old one, which was 1720 milliamp hours. So a pretty good bump there. There are a lot of pros with this new battery. For example, longer run times, better thermal performance in heat and cold conditions. However, there's a pretty big downside in that it is not backwards compatible. So if I take this new Hero 13 battery and insert it into my Hero 12, you can see the door won't shut. And that's mainly because of the way the contacts are positioned on the batteries. I'm not gonna complain too much though, because with this new battery on the Hero 13 Black, I've noticed considerably longer runtime, which is a big improvement over the old battery. Depending on the conditions you're in, you can expect 2.5 hours of runtime while filming at 1080p at full HD resolution, and over an hour and a half of runtime in 4K or 5.3K at 30 frames per second. Speaking of runtime, runtime and that new heatsink on the front of the camera, let's talk about thermal performance on the new GoPro Hero 13 Black. There's some good news on the Hero 13 Black because with all those thermal changes under the hood, they've improved the runtime of this camera in just about every mode, including all the slow motion modes like 240p, 120p, etc. by up to 40%, increasing your runtime by 40%. Again though, I haven't had the camera super long, so I want to do more testing before I give you a definitive answer, but for now, it's looking pretty good. Let's talk about image quality. As mentioned before, the new GoPro Hero 13 Black has generally the same image quality as the Hero 12 Black, or the 11 Black for that matter, because they've been using the same imaging sensor for a while now. With that being said, they have added some new features to imaging in the 13 Black. For example, there's now 10-bit HLG HDR, and this is the same format that my Sony cameras that I'm actually using to film this video shoot in. This is a professional grade HDR format, and this is the type of format that's recognized by YouTube for playback. Another exciting upgrade to the GoPro Hero 13 Black is its new burst slow motion capabilities. This is actually super cool. So on the GoPro Hero 13 Black, you can now shoot burst slow motion for a short duration of time to increase your resolution and get super high resolution slow motion video. So in 5.3K, the maximum resolution on the Hero 13 Black, you can shoot 120 frames per second for 5 seconds, or HD or 720p at 400 frames per second for 15 seconds. For example, I tested that new burst slow motion feature while my kids were jumping in the pool, and the results I got were super cool because I was able to get super high resolution in super slow motion so I could see every detail, every water droplet flying through the sky. Next up, let's talk about GPS because it's back. If you remember last year when the GoPro Hero 12 came out, they removed GPS on this camera. Now GPS is used to locate you and generate a track when you're running or mountain biking or you're doing any active thing, driving in a car, whatever. You can record your GPS data and then overlay it over your video in the GoPro app after the fact. And the last feature I want to mention before we get into this box is that the new GoPro Hero 13 Black also supports Wi-Fi 6 for faster sharing and downloading footage. And I can attest to it. It is much faster to download footage directly from the camera to my phone than on previous generations, and I really appreciate that. All right, and that is my quick rundown of the new GoPro Hero 13 Black. But that's not where it ends because there's so much more to talk about, and that's what's inside this box. So let's open it up. So inside this box, we've got a bunch of stuff, and up here, it's kind of a giveaway. It says legit kit. Before we move on, keep in mind this is not like a retail unit. This is kind of like a media unit, so you won't get all this stuff when you buy a GoPro Hero 13 Black. All this stuff is a little bit extra, except for the first thing we're going to talk about, which is the mount. So what you're looking at here is the new magnetic mount that goes to the GoPro Hero 13 Black. And honestly, this thing is kind of genius. I'm going to refer back to last generation's Hero 12 Black here, because if you flip this camera over, it did have a clever feature where you can fold out the GoPro mount here and attach your accessories. But if you needed to quickly get this camera off the mount for any reason, you have to unscrew that thing on the side, take it off, put it back on, screw it back on. So on the new Hero 13 Black, we still have those fold-out fingers. So I can fold these fingers out, and it's the same as the 12 Black with the fold-out fingers. These little fingers are probably the most secure way to attach your camera if you're doing something, high intensity, dirt biking, mountain biking, whatever. With that being said, for every other application out there, that's where this new magnetic mount comes in. This is kind of like the best of both worlds. So now if I fold these fingers away, you'll notice the design changed a little bit, where in the middle here, we still have a 1/4 thread, so you can mount it to any tripod, but there's also these gaps on the end next to where the fingers fold away. And that's for this new magnetic mount, pushes into place. There you go, now you have a mount. And if you want to take the camera off, you squeeze the ends here, and it comes right off. It is really satisfying, really secure, really on there, and honestly, one of the best magnetic action camera mounts I've seen in a while. Now that we've talked about the magnetic mount, it's time to talk about all this other stuff, because this is where things get interesting with the Hero 13 Black. All right, so what you're seeing here are 4 different lenses, and if you look at this little graphic up here, you've got all the options available for the Hero 13 Black. So just like on previous models of the GoPro, this little lens here is removable and replaceable. And the best part of that is if you crash your bike and you got your GoPro on it and you crack that lens, you can simply push down, it's kind of tricky, you turn it, and you can pop that lens off and put a new piece of glass on and keep on trucking. On the last generation of the Hero 12 Black, it had the same thing, except it had a metal color instead of a black color, although I think they're both still metal. And on the Hero 12 Black, there was also this accessory available called the Max Lens Mod 2.0. And what this was is basically an ultra wide lens that you could fit to your Hero 12 Black. You simply line it up, you twist it on there, and there you go. And now you got an extra wide field of view for even more immersive action footage. So in the GoPro Hero 13 Black, if I remove that lens, we've got a very similar option to last generation's Max Lens Mod, and it's called the ultra wide lens this time. In fact, it looks nearly identical to the Max Lens Mod, and I've gotten them confused a couple of times. On the left side is the Max Lens Mod, and on the right side is the ultra wide lens. Another change on the GoPro Hero 13 Black is that they made it easier to attach your lenses. As you can see there, there's a tiny little blue circle that indicates how to line up your lens, because I've got that same blue circle over here on the ultra wide lens. So all you gotta do is line up those lenses, twist it, it locks into place, and now you're good to go. But on the GoPro Hero 13 Black, it gets even easier than that, because on the last generation, on the Hero 12 Black, when you attach this extra lens, you would need to manually go into your settings, swipe down from the top here, you see that there, and then you'd have to toggle on Max Lens Mod 2.0. Once you turn that on, now the lens is enabled. Let's jump back over to the GoPro Hero 13 Black. When I turn this camera on, you're gonna notice something kind of magical. On the GoPro Hero 13 Black, there's a little chip embedded in each lens, and the camera automatically detects when you attach the lens to the camera. So if you've got the ultra wide on there, it automatically changes all the settings so you're ready to go with the ultra wide lens without needing to manually go into the settings and toggle anything. And honestly, on the GoPro Hero 12 Black, this was kind of a headache for me. You'd have to put the lens on and then remember to toggle the settings. And then when you take the lens off, you have to remember to turn the setting off or your footage looks all kind of crazy. And as you can see, the field of view generally looks identical, along with the footage itself, the clarity, the sharpness, everything looks pretty good, and both lenses look pretty much the same. And if you do want to pick up the ultra wide lens, it comes in at an additional $99 on top of the camera, which is not outrageous for a little lens like this. That is the new ultra wide lens in a nutshell. Now let's move on to the next one, because this one is arguably the most exciting of the bunch. This is the new macro lens for the GoPro Hero 13 Black. And this one is super interesting because it allows you to focus 4 times closer than without it. If you own a GoPro, you know you can't get super up close to items. If you want to see text on a dollar bill or get up close to a watch like I often do, you can't do that with a GoPro without it getting all blurry because it has a set minimum focus distance. But another benefit of that closed-in minimum focus distance is that you can actually blur the background. You get that bokeh effect in the background that typically you could only find in like a DSLR camera or mirrorless camera or even a high-end iPhone or something like that. So now on the Hero 13 Black with the macro lens, you can get some real cinematic looking footage and be really up close to an object, which is a lot of fun. And again, just like the ultra-wide lens, this new macro lens is also waterproof, hydrophobic, so you can use it in the water, it can be in harsh environments, and you don't really have to worry about it. So you might be wondering at this point, well, Dave, what if I'm shooting macro and then I want to shoot something that's not macro? The new macro lens has a focus ring, just like a DSLR camera or something like that. So you can quickly toggle between macro and non-macro to get all kinds of different shots. And in reality, you could simply just leave this lens on all the time and have a pretty capable camera. Another cool feature of the GoPro Hero 13 Black is that it has focus peaking. So when you're using the macro lens and you're using that ring to dial in your focus, you can see where the focus plane is. And you can see there when I focus in on my watch, it's turned that same teal blue color just to make it obvious that it's in focus. This is a super useful feature to have, especially with a manually focused lens. All right, let's put away the macro lens for a second here and talk about the final lens I have for the purpose of this video, and that is the new ND filter set. This is not a single lens, this is actually a set of lenses. And as you can see there, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a lens cover here. This is just a rubber lens cover to cover the ND filters. I'm gonna go ahead and take one out now so I can show you what they look like. Here you can see that they sort of have this like mirror-like coating, and that's because the purpose of an ND filter is to reduce the amount of light that's getting to the camera's imaging sensor. So why would you want to do this? Well, the idea behind ND filter is making it so when you're in video mode and you're shooting something like riding a motorcycle or a bicycle or something with fast motion, that you can get some of that natural lens blur into your footage. That's where these new ND filters come in, and they come in 4 different flavors in different intensities. You can see the one I'm holding now is ND4. So that's the weakest of the ND filters. You can imagine them as sort of like sunglasses for your camera, and this ND4 would be the weakest pair of sunglasses. At this point, you're probably wondering, well, Dave, I don't know anything about a camera and I don't know ND filters, like which one would I use in what scenario? That's where GoPro comes in with smart metering. So within the GoPro Hero 13 Black, when you have an ND filter attached, it'll actually tell you whether or not you should change out that ND filter. At the top of the screen, you'll see a little icon indicating the ND filter, but on top of that, you'll also see an either up arrow indicating that you should move up in the ND filters, or a down arrow indicating that you should move down to a weaker ND filter. And generally speaking, it works pretty well. I've tried it out on a couple of different bike rides. It suggested I either move up or down depending on the ND filter, and the footage I got looked pretty good. However, in some situations, if I did choose a darker ND filter, it got a little bit rough when it comes to stabilization in the video footage, and I think that's just my fault for choosing the wrong one. When it comes to the price on the ND filter set for the 4 filters plus the lens cap and this case, it comes in at $69.99 here in the USA, which I think is a fair price for a 4-pack of filters. And the final lens I want to talk about in the new GoPro HB lens series is called the Anamorphic Lens, and this one is super interesting. Unfortunately, it's a huge bummer that is not available yet. It'll be coming out in sometime in 2025. But for now, we can talk about it. What is an anamorphic lens? It's a specialty lens typically used in movie production. You're gonna find this in big movie production. The cool thing about anamorphic lenses is the lens flare, because when you get a lens flare like a headlight from a car or the sun or whatever hitting the lens, you get these really cool lens flares that are really distinctive to the anamorphic lens. Now, in the past, if you wanted an anamorphic lens and you had a camera like this is a Sony A7 Mark IV, it would cost a lot of money. I think an anamorphic lens for this on the cheap end is like $1,000. The cool thing about the GoPro anamorphic lens is that it comes in at $129. So it's super affordable. And from what I saw in the sample footage that GoPro showed me, it looks really cool. And once again, the anamorphic lens is waterproof and hydrophobic and scratch resistant. So it's at GoPro standards. And I am super excited to test this out. So if GoPro, if you're watching, please send me one. I really want to try it out. And those are all the new HB series lenses in the GoPro lineup. Super exciting stuff. It's cool to see what they're doing here, and it makes the GoPro just a little bit more versatile. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, and that is compatibility with older GoPro cameras. Unfortunately, despite the fact that these new lenses do fit on older cameras, GoPro's told me that they are not compatible. For example, if I take the macro lens here and attach it to my Hero 12 Black, it works, it goes on without an issue, as you can see there. However, I can't get it to work on the camera because there's no macro settings on the Hero 12 Black. It just gives me a really weird looking image. Okay, that brings us to the final thoughts section of this video and what I think about the GoPro Hero 13 Black so far. Generally speaking, I really like this camera, but I also really like the GoPro Hero 12 Black. And honestly, the footage coming out of both these cameras is nearly identical in most situations. Yeah, the Hero 13 Black got a slight upgrade when it comes to low light stabilization, but overall low light performance between these two cameras is pretty similar. And again, I'll have more in-depth follow-up testing after this video, but generally speaking, longer run times, better thermals, more options like burst slow-mo and HLG, HDR, and a lot of other nuanced features under the hood make the GoPro Hero 13 Black a pretty solid upgrade from the Hero 12 Black. Now, what do I wish they added? Well, the first thing is fast charging. So the GoPro Hero 12 Black and Hero 13 Black charge at the same rate. The Hero 13 Black does not have fast charging at all, and if you need to charge your battery from 0 to 100%, it takes a while. Another feature I wish the Hero 13 Black had was improved low light performance. It's not a showstopper, but it is something I wish the Hero 13 had. But other than that, the GoPro Hero 13 Black represents a pretty solid upgrade as compared to the Hero 12 Black, and really the biggest story here are the new lenses with the macro lens, the anamorphic lens, and the ND filter set that are automatically detected by the camera to take out all of that guesswork and changing settings. It all just happens automatically. But that's really it for this video, in my opinion, on the new GoPro Hero 13 Black so far. And now's the point of the video. Again, I want to hear from you. Drop into the comments down below and let me know what you think of this camera. Will you be getting one? What features sold you on it? Did you need the GPS feature to come back? Or if you're going with a competing camera like DJI or Insta360, let me know that too. Love to hear from you. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. And if you're still watching, you probably liked this video. And if you did, I would encourage you to drop down below, giving me the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, do all the things down there because that really helps me out. And after you subscribe and hit the like button, make sure to drop into the description of this video where you'll find links to buy your very own Hero 13 Black or Hero 12 Black or any other camera I talked about in this video. And those links do help support this channel, but they cost nothing extra to you. Oh yeah, one more thing. Don't forget to check out my merch store. You can buy a sweet shirt like this. Check out the back. All right, friends, that's it for this one. There'll be lots of follow-up content about the Hero 13 Black, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye.